What's up, you guys? It's your boy Kes Gets Cash, and I'm back here with another video. So today we have, should everyone get the COVID-19 vaccine, pro versus anti-vax? You know, by yours truly, Jubilee. You know what I'm saying? Now, um, I I do. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I do believe that um you know what, me and my dad actually had this conversation, right, about getting the vaccine. You know, I was talking to him about it because my job was like, you know what, you get the vaccine, we gonna pay you, right? You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh. And even honestly, before I was thinking about getting the vaccine because um I want to be safe just in case I actually get it, and it's not as a problem if I didn't have the vaccine. You know what I'm saying? And he was just saying, why even get the vaccine when it's not even really gonna do anything against the new strain? You know what I'm saying? And I respect his opinion, but I was like, you know what? Um, I still I still want to get it because I just want to protect myself and everyone around me. It's not just the way I see it. It's not just about you. It's about everyone else. It's about all the old people, everybody else around you. So but I have heard a few people feel a little sick, but I there's things about the flu vaccine and stuff like that. But I had the flu vaccine, never had a problem, never been sick, none of that, been healthy. So I actually might get the vaccine, um, you know, just for my well being and just to be on the cautious and safe side. But we gonna get into this and see what they saying. Maybe they bring some info I wasn't aware about. Let's hop into this video, y'all. Make sure y'all comment down below what you want to react to after you finish watching the video. Watch the full video, please. All right, and click that sub button, man. I'm trying to get this channel popping. You feel me? Let's hop into this.
Before we start this video, we just want to acknowledge that this is obviously a very sensitive topic, especially coming out of what's been an incredibly difficult year battling the coronavirus pandemic. But as vaccines are starting to roll out, this is also a very real and current conversation that we're seeing happen within our communities and all around the country. So our goal with this video was to just earnestly portray various perspectives that we were hearing, and not necessarily that we condone these perspectives, but to understand why people are feeling the way they might be. As always, please seek out experts as you're making your own decisions. And above all else, we want to encourage you to see humanity and feel more empathy. Enjoy the video.
I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't even put it on you. My fault. I was tweaking. All right.
Over the past year, I've been integrally involved in treating COVID-19 patients in the ICU as I'm a critical care physician. I'd never seen a disease like this in my 20 years of experience. This virus kills you slowly, methodically, and without mercy.
I'm a registered nurse, and I think the COVID vaccine is very important because it prevents infection, and not just for us and for our families.
We've all been at home for the better part of a year, and we have to make some tough decisions about our health and how we're going to interact with each other in the future.
Why am I skeptical? Well, there's been a lot of misinformation. This COVID thing has been very political. I'm not anti-vaccination. I'm just more skeptical about the COVID vaccination.
I feel like it's not safe yet. There hasn't been enough testing done on this vaccine, and I don't think that it's a one-size-fits-all.
I'm not for the COVID vaccine because the evidence doesn't add up to that being necessary in order to survive. There's only been one side of the story told, and it's been a side of death and sadness and depression. And I don't believe that's the whole truth.
You don't believe that's the whole truth? Bro, of course in the news, they're going to report the death. Because they want to show you how serious it is. Right? And even in the news, they still say, so-and-so is not that high at risk, but still, you could still end up on a breathing thing, right? You could still end up that way.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I'm a registered nurse for 2 years, and I'm excited to be here and extremely nervous.
My name is Thomas Yadigar. I'm a critical care physician, and I supervise a team of 20 physicians. And on a normal day, we take care of about 120 patients in the hospital and about 40 to 50 patients in ICU.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I am a teacher. I've been teaching for 16 years, and I'm just very excited to be here.
Hi, my name's Siaka Massaquoi, and just an individual that loves this life and wants to just see the best for everybody in it.
Hello, my name is Percy. I'm an actor and podcaster, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I am a stay-at-home mom. I have a 4-year-old. I'm definitely not here to change anyone's mind, but just to share my own personal experience and my views on things.
Can I please have my pro-COVID vaccine folks on the left and my skeptics on the right? The first prompt is, COVID-19 scares me. Please.
Bro, without even going for... Yes, bro. COVID-19 scares me. Even though I haven't caught it throughout this whole thing, I could still catch it. Right? And I could end up in a hospital, bro. Like, I could end up on a bed, on a breathing system or whatever. Like, I could literally be sick and be people who have COVID-19. Because, okay, my girl works at this place, right? Her boss had caught COVID-19. He said it felt like he was actually dying, bro. And I'm like, I honestly don't want to feel like that, bro. So honestly, I want to get the vaccine, bro, so I can, build my immunity, and I have a better chance of fighting it off than me just not having it at all.
Please come forward if you agree with the statement.
Oh. Are they coming up? Oh, no. They ain't coming.
Yeah, so for me, I have asthma. I was born with it, which is why I keep my...
Right, and my girl got asthma too. If you got asthma, bro, I'm praying for you, bro, because you really is at risk with that shit, because it really affect your lungs, and you already have asthma, bro.
Myself isolated. I just don't want to put myself in a position where I got to call my mom and say, hey, come to California. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, for me, COVID with family members, friends who have gotten sick, friends who have passed away. I'm just very concerned for my parents, my aunts, my cousins, everybody,
Yeah.
So including myself.
Right.
I actually work with COVID patients since the very beginning, so I'm also scared that I can contact from my patients and I can give it to my parents.
I think the thing that scares me most about COVID is that it is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
A year ago when this started, the first patient in LA County came to our hospital. 13 people that were on a ski trip in Italy. And when I walked into the room to talk to him about it, what he told me kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah.
7 of them ended up getting hospitalized. 2 of them were on a respirator, were on blood pressure medicines, on ECMO, fighting for their lives. And these are people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. That right off the bat caused me to call all my relatives and tell them, stay the hell home, be careful, hunker down. Despite being in cameras, I'm actually intensely private. This is not something that I'm comfortable with. But I started posting things on Facebook to alert people to the threats of what was coming our way, because this is no ordinary virus.
Okay, can we please have our disagreeers come and join us?
I thought I was going to be the only one.
I guess I would say it doesn't scare me in the same manner as I've heard from you guys, because I had it. I got it back in January before it was cool.
Move away.
Yeah, I'm good now, right? My 74-year-old mom who came to visit had it, my 6-year-old godson, my 3-year-old godson, my 40-year-old best friend, 32-year-old roommate. The kids went through like this. My mom, 11 days. It was weird for her, but she's healthy as hell. You know, and that's my own personal story, and then I have not changed my lifestyle since this thing started. If anything, I've gone out more. I've been going to rallies since June, and I've been around multiple people of all ages, consistently.
Bro, that's so... Bro, that's so irresponsible. That's so irresponsible. That is so irresponsible, bro. Because if you catch it again, right? Say it's a new strain, and then your mom catch it, right? You say she's 74, and then she has to be hooked on the respirator, and then she might actually die, bro. That's irresponsible. For all y'all who was going to rallies and shit, y'all about dumb as hell, need to stay your ass at home. Oh, God.
Hugged, hung out with every Saturday for 6-7 months. Nothing. But yet I'm only being told one side of the story.
Well, for me, it's not really a fear because I grew up undocumented. So there's a lot of other things that I grew up fearing, cops being one of those. And COVID, you know, it got my grandmother, it got my aunt, my uncle. My aunt and uncle did pass away in Mexico. It got a handful of my friends. But to say that I'm afraid of it and to like change my life and stay home and then feed that to my 4-year-old, that's not the way that I have chosen to live, because I do agree that fear in itself can cause so much stress. It can lower your immune system, you know, and it can just put your mind in such a state of panic and trauma that I feel like that in itself can be so much more detrimental in the long run.
I think that's my big issue with it, because I just, after this thing, then what? When we're too afraid to come up to strangers.
Yeah.
Like, how are we supposed to get through our stuff?
You should be aware. I don't think it's ever good to, you know, to cause mass fear on the population. But I think, you know, knowledge is power.
Yep.
So you have to be able to understand what's going on around you and adapt around you.
What I've had to do with my students is to make them aware of it being okay. Have you gone outside today? Did you go get some fresh air? Okay, let's do some exercise. Do a plank competition in the house. At least something that's active, because they are so recluse. And that's the part that is concerning.
Yeah, within the first few weeks, one of my doctors asked me to see a patient. She'd been into the emergency room 3 times within a week. She was convinced she had COVID. And she had some of the symptoms. She had chest tightness, shortness of breath. And they were going to do a 4th test. Her 3 previous ones were all negative. So I walked in, and I'm like, do you have any kids? She's like, yeah, I have a 10-month-old, but he's fine. Don't worry about him. I'm like, what do you mean he's fine? Don't worry about him. She's like, I use Clorox. I just make sure that this virus doesn't come anywhere around. I'm like, what about with your groceries? She's like, my groceries, I use bleach on them. I told her, I'm like, you know, I looked at your CAT scan. You don't have COVID, but you have a chemical pneumonitis.
Yes.
From all this bleach, from all these chemicals that you have introduced, you just put yourself in harm. And I'm like, go home, do what you normally do in terms of cleaning. Wash your hands. You know, some of the stuff that was coming out in the first few weeks, it lingers in the air for 3 hours. It lasts on surfaces for 3 days. And I'm looking at the TV and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, this is nonsense. This is a respiratory virus.
I just feel like it has been blown to a proportion that it doesn't need to be. Yes, be safe, be cautious, but you don't have to run around, bleaching your vegetables. Like, what is that doing? I would just say, like, take it serious.
Bro, the fact that I hope y'all at home ain't bleaching y'all vegetables and they're trying to. I'm sorry, this is serious, but like. Bleaching your vegetables? Just wash them.
Don't wait until your mom or your grandmother's in the hospital to say, take COVID seriously, because we've been seeing that all year, and it's not getting us nowhere.
Gotta get this ad out the way. I'm sorry.
Everyone manages their money differently. So why are you investing in a one-size-fits-all portfolio?
Everyone should get a COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, come forward if you disagree.
Shot the moon.
I don't think everybody should get it because people who are allergic to vaccines obviously shouldn't get the vaccine, but I feel like I can see how much COVID can affect family members, and I see, like, my grandma actually passed away with COVID. She was in a nursing home. That's how she got it. And I feel like herd immunity, I think it could give us back to normal life.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting a vaccine is incredibly individual choice.
Right.
So we all have our own medical history. We all have our own medical experiences, how we reacted to vaccines. That being said, I don't think at this point we're going to eradicate COVID-19 with a vaccine. But that doesn't mean that vaccine's not critically important. And the people who should be getting it, they should get the vaccine. I myself did get the vaccine.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all because, again, everyone's body is so different that what might work for you might kill me and vice versa. And so for me, I feel like that's not a risk that I'm willing to take. I actually developed allergies due to vaccines as a kid, and I would break out in hives. It would last, anywhere between 3 days to like 2 weeks. And the doctors throughout like 20 years of my life could never figure it out. It definitely does something to you mentally when you go into an ER and you're in this desperate need for help. And they would just kind of look at me and go like, okay, well, we'll just give you Benadryl and you can go home. It wasn't until I became an adult. I worked for several families as a babysitter, and they all happened to be physicians. And some of them talked to me about vaccine injuries. It clicked, because the second that I started making my own medical decisions, that's when all of the side effects just kind of went away.
That's unfortunate because you didn't get the care that you should have gotten. Like, I didn't hear or know about vaccine injury until I started really working in health care and public health. And I have friends who have autoimmune issues, and they have.
I didn't know that was actually a problem. Right? I didn't know that was actually a problem. But personally, I've never had a problem getting a vaccine. Matter of fact, I just got my flu shot like 2 weeks ago. Nothing in my health has changed. I feel good.
Yeah, big allergic.
So I think I will get the vaccine.
Reactions to certain things, and so they have a huge concern about, of course, this vaccine, COVID vaccine, because what could happen.
The one thing I would ask you though, Erica, is because you have had family members that died.
Yeah.
So you would trust getting the disease versus the vaccine? The vaccine scares you that much that you would rather get the...
Like, let's say if you had COVID, like, I would feel so much more comfortable shaking your hand and getting COVID through you and build the antibodies for it than I would to trust the vaccine. I remember the last episode I had, I was in my closet, and this is when I knew it was really bad because my thoughts were getting really dark, to where I visualized myself cutting off each hive So would I risk
Yeah.
going back there again for this with this vaccine? I just wouldn't.
I think, again, with your experience of having the vaccines, it totally makes sense. But my recommendation would be, please don't get it naturally. Do everything you can to even prevent yourself from getting it. And the one thing that you guys haven't seen, unfortunately, I think Jacqueline and I have seen it, the death that comes with COVID, it's not a romantic death. It's not noble. It's a miserable, gruesome death. And all you can do, not for hours, but for days and weeks, is to sit there and tell every single person that comes into your room, help me, I can't breathe, for weeks and weeks. This virus pushes you so far beyond your limit that you give up. You give up on the one thing that I can't give you medication for.
Right.
Hope. You give up hope. And your soul gives up the will to live, the will to fight. And I think that's the hardest part to explain to people, that, yes,
Yeah, bro. This hearing that, bro, this makes me want to go get the vaccine right now, honestly. Because, my dad was like, you probably have a strong immunity. You don't need it. But I don't want to take that chance, because there's new studies that there's some teens that were healthy and still end up on a respirator. Right? And I don't want to be one of those teens. I don't want to have a slowly death or feel that it's like you're in a boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. You just get keeping hit. You just keep getting hit, bro. And you try to get back up, but at some point you don't want to do it no more. And I don't.
You guys are young, but the problem is this virus needs you to spread. And when it spreads, it lands on someone named Daniel, who at 59 loses his life and doesn't get to attend his daughter's wedding, doesn't get to walk her down the aisle. It lands on someone, Evaristo, who's a 61-year-old guy, healthy. His only problem was he went to work at Whole Foods and he checked people's temperature. And when he finally died, his thigh was the size of my wrist. No matter what I did, I couldn't stop it. I couldn't help him. And I've had patients where they had it and, they're like, well, I had it, it wasn't bad. And they went to see their relative. And their relative ends up, on life support. So I think that's why it's so important to get vaccinated. It's not for yourself. It's for the people that you don't know, but you're going to come into contact with, and you're going to help this virus spread.
But isn't that under the assumption that the vaccination itself somehow stops you from getting COVID, and that's not true?
The vaccination, actually, both the Pfizer and the Moderna are very successful at
It was 94%.
Can you still get it? Yes. I have had patients that have had their series of vaccines, and even 2 weeks later, they still get the virus. But even when you get it, it's not as severe. You don't need to get hospitalized. And again, if we can break the cycle where there's less people for this virus to spread, that's what we're looking for in the vaccination.
So I guess with me on that, if we're talking about the mortality rate is 0.3%, 0.03%, for who were dying, that survival rate is 99.97.
The death rate is higher
Yeah.
at that point. It's 1 to 2%, actually, the death
1 to
rate.
2%? So if the survival rate
much
is
higher.
99.97,
It's much
how is the
higher
death
It's
than-
rate?
not 99.97. Case fatality rates are about, in states, is about 1%.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was
Yeah,
even
it's
a percentage
1.2.
point. What doesn't add up is to take that foreign entity that has so many other things that can affect my body in a negative way that I don't need to put in myself, for what I'm looking at is the percentage of those that when they do get it, this is who may go.
So I see COVID patients every day at work. Surviving is different from thriving. I see patients all the time that can't even breathe on their own. The rest of their life, they have to be on oxygen. Sure, they didn't die, but now they can't walk up the stairs without feeling shortness of breath.
How many is that?
It's about
still-
30%. And those are not even hospitalized patients. So even people who had mild illness, they develop long haulers.
30%?
Yeah, up to 30%.
I saw all the different age ranges in my house, and nobody has anything after.
Affects
She said.
people in different ways.
Exactly. And I mean, it's not to take away like, man, that's terrible. But what it can do adversely to me and to others, it's going to be impossible to approach it from your perspective because I'm not seeing those patients, right? All the things you guys are saying, I don't believe is false at all. That's your experience.
Right.
But I also know, it's like I told you, I'm going out week in and week out, seeing those old people for 6-7 months, and we're laughing, partying, dancing together consistently. I can't just shut that off and go, well, the Times said this, and then CNN said this, and only the people in the front lines right when those are dying said this, so that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Like I said, bro, it's just irresponsible. You know, if you haven't had problems with vaccines in the past, like actually like the girl in purple here, then I think you should get it, bro. Not for yourself, but everyone else around you.
That means that's the only truth. I mean, you can hear the frustration.
You know, it's just a lot of political nonsense going on. They're not telling us what the vaccine is made out of. You know, they're not telling us the side effects. We're hearing about it on Twitter. People, sitting in bed, can't get out because they got their body hurt. So for me, it's just like, what is the line about? What's the political agenda about?
It makes you not trust.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
know?
I hear you. And I think what's always attracted me to medicine, you have to make your decisions based on facts. Not fear, not speculation, not political agendas. But the truth of it was, when this started in March, a lot of my friends started asking me because they said, oh, there's going to be a vaccine. And I'm like, there's going to be a vaccine? It's going to take at least 2 years.
Yep.
The earliest that we had developed a vaccine before was 4 years. But then in the summertime, it actually went through phase 1 and phase 2. And then it went into started getting phase 3. And the reason why it was actually able to get done within a year period is because, one, they cut all the red tape, because there's a lot of bureaucracy. But then there was also a tremendous amount of collaboration between countries. So I posted when I got my vaccine in December. And some of my friends called me and they're like, you said it wasn't going to be available. And you said also, when it becomes available, you're going to wait 3 to 6 months to get it. What made you change your mind? I said, listen, over this past year, I have seen what this virus can do to people.
The reason why you don't know the side effects is because it is a not fully FDA approved vaccination, right? You're putting your faith into something because you know and have trusted a variety of other vaccinations over the course of the years. And you know and you trust the steps and the stages that these different companies went through in order to eliminate a virus that is running rampant over the world.
I think one of the things that really hasn't been publicized is the quote-unquote side effects. The vaccine, the Pfizer and the Moderna, are 2 shots. So the first shot is just to get your immune system kind of used to it, and the second shot is a booster. So the symptoms that you get, the headache, the body aches, the low-grade fever, that's actually not a side effect. That's your immune system working, and they go away. I understand that you had a horrible response and it was much more severe, but for the vast majority of people, we've already vaccinated over 100 million people across the globe. So I think if there was anything more serious, it would have come out.
Well, then I'm sure everyone's seen videos, and there are people who are saying, I'm a nurse, I did this, now the side of their face is flat, or they're shaking all day. When you see and you look up and you're online and that information, that stuff gets censored and taken off YouTube, taken off Instagram, taken off Facebook. Like it raises that. If you look at like Tuskegee experiment, they sat there and shot up a bunch of black men with tuberculosis or with syphilis. Sorry, they didn't say anything, and they've been doing this consistently. We can talk about like
smallpox blankets,
right? And it's like we've seen what they've done, and then when you see people get censored for having a different opinion on this stuff over the last 10 months, it makes it that much harder that when they say take the vaccination, I'd be damned to listen to them. I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm not saying you're a liar, but I'm like, you're also saying the same thing. The same people who I've seen show us get shot on TV like it's a sport.
Right.
Like, what is that doing to the psyche of our country? It's still coming from these people or from a group that you go,
you don't have confidence in them.
And I think that's the biggest issue, is the lack of transparency and trust, right? I don't think they're doing it anymore, but remember they came out and it was like, oh, we'll pay people $1,500 to take the vaccine. But isn't this the same government that every time we need a stimulus check, they can't come up with a deal, but they're willing to pay for it? It just looks fishy. It smells fishy. They're not telling us anything. Can I ask you a question? So let's say everybody got the vaccine. What happens? Do we just go back to work, go back to the gyms, go back to school? Like, unless the vaccine works 100%, if we all take it, I mean, what happens? Like, do we go back to normal? Do we still gotta wear the face mask and social distance?
Well, to continue to wear masks because there are people that aren't going to be vaccinated. Yeah. And there are people that are going to continue to spread COVID-19 because that's just what viruses do. They spread. And we're not going back to normal. We're going to go to some new variation. We're going to have our own variant of normalcy. And we're creating those things right now as we do the process and opening back up. I know that my district is planning to do soft open. You still have to be aware, though, that these kids, they don't have a vaccine. So, you know, my students are coming back into the classroom. Are they going to be passing it to each other? Because guess what? A lot of them have had COVID over this break.
You asked a really good question. This is like, if everyone in America gets vaccinated, does things go back to normal? And I think the honest truth is we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. Now this one, you know, the mortality rate is like 1 to 2%, maybe a little bit lower. But what if the variants come up to 10%, 15%? Now that's a game changer. What if it gets to be like Ebola, where it kills 40% of the people? This virus is just so tricky, so elusive, it just changes so much. This is an evolving pandemic. It's like nothing that we had ever seen before. I think they should just be honest. You know, as opposed to saying, well, this is what you need to do so we can open the schools. Just be honest.
The COVID-19 restrictions have been necessary.
Absolutely. Wearing a mask is definitely necessary. Wearing a mask is definitely necessary so that when you cough or whatever, you're not passing off nothing to that other person, and they're not passing nothing on to you. Or they don't have a mask on at you. Your face mask kind of blocks the airways, so the virus don't get in there, right? And you don't get sick. You know, that's why they tell you not to touch your face.
I mean, I guess. Okay. $5,000. That's what this guy paid to spend the night with me.
$5,000 is what I make
$5,000
a week. Nah, I'm just playing.
Peer pressure.
I think it has been necessary. When we look at how it's passed around, right? The gym. I love the gym. I used to live in the gym. And I know there's a chance that people don't wipe off after their equipment. People don't wash their hands in the bathroom. You know, so I think the restrictions have been necessary because if we didn't close down, people would still be at the beaches having a good old time. We needed some type of structure to make us do it because if the government just said, you know, it's up to you to stay home, people don't even do it now. And I mean, if we get another shutdown, it might be necessary, who knows, but I think for the time being, it has helped to slow the spread of COVID.
In regards to the shutdown, for my students, it's put them into a whole other state of mind, actually, in terms of their ability to communicate with people and with each other. It was like something had triggered because they were doing okay before, and then all of a sudden, they just shut down. That's a big concern of mine. The shutdown is a little bit long and possibly could have been staggered or altered in different ways. Like, okay, let's open, and then during those times of the fall, winter, season, perhaps maybe we can, close it back down for the 2 to 3 weeks.
I think initially, when we didn't know what was going on, like, hey, I mean, I was riding around with a mask on, but then we started finding out and they didn't adjust. That was my problem. Like my local restaurant my buddy owns is shut down, but I get on a flight from here to Chicago with strangers I don't know completely fine. That doesn't make sense to me. I think it's the basis of what this country is about. It's your decision.
Yeah, we would want it to be up to the individual person. Why do I have to take all of these restrictions on my body if A, I'm taking care of my health, and B, I'm being smart about how I interact, I spend money on all of those vegan meals, and, I'm like, I'm not doing all of this work for nothing. I don't know, it feels really interesting because I feel like I am the only one in the people I know that is like, I'm not gonna wear a mask, and like, I'm not afraid of COVID, but I'm not.
Stay away from me, though. If you're not gonna wear a mask, stay away from me though. If I don't know you and I know you've been around hella people and at parties, don't come around me, because you get COVID, you start, and then it just comes at my face, and then I'm here. Wakanda forever. R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. Didn't he die? Yeah, he died for COVID, didn't he? Well, I think he had underlying health problems, and then COVID came along, and but just nah.
Not going to the clubs, you know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes when we think of people that don't wear masks, you just assume that they're out there throwing parties, but it's like, right? Do you know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes we're generalizing and throwing people into these boxes and then making these big assumptions. Then that creates this sense of fear, because then I'm going to be thinking like, well, you have it and you have it and you have it because you're not wearing a mask.
I think the issue I'm having is I'm not trying to label all non-mask wearers as just criminals and they should be locked up. But I remember Bow Wow had a concert in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, and you see videos and pictures of people just, it just smells hot. All those people in that club packed together like sardines. Somebody has COVID. They either pass it along or they take it home.
You see, like that whole thing, like I can't get on board with that, because it's all still based on fear. It's also based on like, well, because you said you saw the party, that means somebody got sick. And I'm like, I'm seeing the people that bought in like 100% then come out and then something happens. And it's like, well, you were locked up. You weren't getting sun. You weren't doing things. You weren't interacting. Like, that blows my mind. That made us weaker.
That's not the case with the lockdown.
No. Lockdowns have done worse in the cities and in the states than the ones that have less lockdowns.
But then we had a third wave that was way worse because there wasn't a lockdown. The restaurants were open. I know because I wasn't there, but friends were inviting me to go, let's go out and eat. And then their third wave came, and that's when the shutdown happened in November. And so I don't agree with the lockdowns create more viruses. They actually stop them, because obviously we're not seeing.
It doesn't add up.
You saw the numbers drop in the hospitals as that shutdown happened. And that's why we're back in this whole open up again.
Yeah, so I believe the lockdown was really necessary. I think the first wave, it was kind of controlled. We only had one medical surgical floor that had COVID. And then the third surge with Halloween, Christmas, New Year's, we had 4 floors that were all for COVID. So people were just laying in a room bagged up because the morgue is full. And that's taking away a potential bed for another patient.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lockdown we had in March, in April, was a strict lockdown. You would see 4 cars in a 101.
That was LA, you could drive around.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I mean, that was extended for a couple of months, and I think we all agreed that was a little too long, but we didn't really have those types of lockdowns again. I remember vividly coming home before Thanksgiving and telling my wife, I'm like, this is gonna get really bad. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I just drove on the 101 and it was in rush hour traffic. It felt like last year before, it felt like no one really believes that there's this pandemic again. Within a 3-week span, we went from 15 to 20 to 120 patients with COVID. And unfortunately, it cost a lot of lives. We lost 10,000 people in LA County from March to December 31st. In 2021, we've lost another 37,000. Right? 10,000 all of last year from COVID, 37 just in a month and a half of 2021. If we would have had strict lockdowns for 2 weeks around the Christmas, around New Year's, if they would have done that, I think we would have cut down on the deaths.
I think conversation is the most important way to solve a problem. We can be actually the virus, right? And we can interject some healing for ourselves and for our students, our future, because we want to know what the perspectives are and how people are feeling. That helps to solve the problem.
Yeah, I feel like you have to come from a genuine place where you want to know the truth. And that might make you feel uncomfortable.
Right. You gotta have an open mind, bro. You gotta really look at the information and what's really out there, and the people around you, and all sorts of things come into factor, bro, to make that decision. I believe everyone should, before getting it, take a real good look at their health and the people around them, and come to that decision. Like her. Like, if you have bad experiences getting a vaccine and breaking out and all that, don't get it. Don't get it, because you know you're harming your health. You know what I'm saying? But hey,
that might be different from what you were holding on to. But if you're going to go into it already feeling like, well, I already know I'm right, and I'm just going to find more articles to support that thought, then you're just right back at square one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant too when I got offered to get the vaccine at my hospital. They're like, okay, here's a sign-up sheet. Do you want to get the vaccine, yes or no? I'm like, well, I don't know what's in it. I don't know how is it administered. So I had to do my own research, and for me, I thought me getting the vaccine benefited me more. Like, I'd rather get a headache than have some other COVID-19 effects.
Right. And for me, coming into this conversation, right, I was skeptical of the vaccine, but I came into it to see what else can I learn, because I think as people, all we could do is sit back, take a deep breath, and look at each other and say, how can we do better? What can we learn? Get out of your box. Because if we don't, we're going to be stuck in this situation forever.
It's going to be terrible, man. It's going to be terrible. This is what's important. I'd rather talk to you.
Yeah.
I'd rather talk to you. I'd rather talk to you, which opens it up. Maybe just a little bit more than it would have, right? But it opens it up. This is the key. This has always been the key.
Yeah.
This is the answer.
So we can do this together, folks. I really believe it.
There's no combination of words or phrases that I can tell you guys which would give you an accurate picture of the amount of human misery and grief and suffering that we have witnessed in the past year, but specifically the past 2 months. But I'm going to stay an optimist, and I'm going to hope that we're going to get over this pandemic. We're going to come together. At the end of all this, we live on one planet. And what happens in Wuhan, China, will affect you whether you live in Wichita, Kansas, or Washington, D.C. So my hope is that we can come together and stop looking out for ourselves, but look out for everyone else.
Yeah, man.
Are we allowed to shake hands? Are we allowed to hug?
On my elbow.
It's up to whoever
Negative,
else.
right?
But I'm here.
Don't touch me.
Elbows.
yo, but fucking that.
When it comes to investing your money,
But
you
yo,
shouldn't have to compromise. With M15,
just a okay, that's just a second. But this is a great video. Some insights on the situation and people's opinion on the vaccine. Overall, I think I'm gonna get it because I've never had a problem with a vaccine or never been sick as people claim to be when they get the vaccine or anything like that. So I'm gonna get it. But I just hope everyone stays safe. Make sure you're wearing your mask, and make sure after you get done doing whatever you got to do, touching groceries or whatever, make sure you really wash your hands and not touch your face. All right, for at least about 3 days. Just because you can. I read somewhere you can actually get COVID on your shoe. Like, you can actually bring it in from your shoe, bro. From your shoe. It'll sit there for 3 days. So I advise everyone use that Lysol, you feel me? Gotta spray out the ops. COVID-19, the ops, you feel me? But anyway, this is a great video. Make sure you comment down below what you want to react to next. It's your boy, Kez Gets Cash, out. Peace, man.